Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. We're here along the east side of our property today, working on this side of the yard. So this garden has taken quite an evolution over the past couple years. When we first moved here, it really was just mainly grass. There was a tall, I believe it was an oak tree, but I'm not 100% sure. It was a very tall oak tree that was right around that little shrub right over there, and there was a little circle garden right by the fence back there, and basically just a couple of other shrubs along the fence. And what we originally did was I had extended the entire bed to make a nice large swooping bed, to make it kind of a shaded woodland garden. And then I ended up early spring putting in that little paver path right there. And then what we noticed was once we hit summer that half the tree wasn't leafing out. So we called our arborist to come take a look at the tree. And he said that sadly the tree was dying, and he didn't really give a reason for it. He said that it's just something that oftentimes happens to trees as they get older. And he said we could potentially have a year or two left with the tree, but being that the sidewalk is very, very nearby and a lot of people tend to walk around in this area, I didn't feel comfortable with that. So we ended up taking the tree down. So we went from being a fully shaded garden to a full sun garden. So a lot of things ended up languishing. I had a couple of rhododendrons in there that I had planted last year, so they were little specimens, and they just didn't make it. So those were really fried up. I have some grasses in here, some Hacanacloa that are more shade plants, and those look really fried and tattered up. We ended up planting this very large Jane magnolia here. So that's going to grow nice and tall and wide. But that's going to take a couple years for that to get established, because that literally just happened a couple months ago. So what we're going to be doing today is I did end up getting some more full sun plants and getting those in the ground today. It is a beautiful overcast day, perfect time to be doing this right now. Great time for you to be planting your things in the fall, because it really gives them a chance to establish their root system and be nice and healthy for you once the spring kicks back in. So let me move you guys in a little bit closer and show you guys what I'll be planting. So I picked up 2 of these standing ovation little blue stem grasses. They're hardy down to zone 3. They get about 2 to 4 feet tall and wide, and they have this really gorgeous color. If you can see up close, hopefully you can see on the camera, they're blue and red, and they just have a really nice upright structure about them, really elegant as they kind of flow in the breeze. Now I say that they're upright, but for whatever reason this one has flopped over. I believe it's just because the way I had it in my truck from the wind, it was getting whipped around a little bit. These do really well in very poor soil, so I will not be adding any fertilizer or amending any of the soil when I put this in the ground. I'm just going to leave it as is, because that's really what they thrive in. The other thing we have down here are these Blackberry lilies. They don't look like such a much right now. They've been in their pots all summer. They have these really interesting seed heads, but they get these really cute tiny little red flowers on them. They only last a day, the flowers, but they do tend to bloom their heads off when it gets really hot. So those will do really well for next year. I have more of this pennisetum. I only have 1 right now because I have 2 in the window box, but I'm going to be planting this somewhere, and then once I'm done with the window box, I'll make sure to put its brothers and sisters right next to it. Then I picked up 6 of this bluebeard Caryopteris. So these can be little mounded shrubs. They bloom in the late fall or late summer, early fall. They are a butterfly magnet from what I understand. I don't have any of these in my yard, but I really, really like the purple color. And like I said, when I was at the garden center, there was a ton of pollinators around them. I think I mentioned that they get about 2 to 4 feet tall and wide. So they're nice little plants to tuck towards the front of the garden. So I'm going to be finding a spot for that. And then the thing that I'm most excited about is I was able to pick up 2 of these quick fire fab hydrangeas. So these get a beautiful pink-like color as the blooms age, they come out a cream color, and as the season gets cooler, they turn this really, really pretty strawberry color. So these get fairly tall. So if I look at the stats on these, they can get about 6 to 8 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. So I need to make sure that I give these guys some room. What I plan on doing is limbing them up at the bottom and turning them into small little trees. So I'm probably going to put it along this side right here of the bed so that it's not going to grow into the Jane Magnolia, which can get about 15 feet wide. Now the way you want to measure this out is from the center of the shrub. So if it gets about 6 feet wide or 6 to 8 feet wide, basically what I do is I go 4 feet out from the center of the shrub to make sure that I'm going to give it enough room for it to eventually grow. So that's what we're going to plan on getting in the ground today. I'm going to set you up and take you through. All right, guys, we got everything in the ground, we got everything watered in, we got everything fertilized where we needed to, and here is what it's looking like. So we got this Caryopteris. We dotted them along between the boxwoods, along the outer edge of the bed. We got the 2 hydrangeas right on the edge alongside the edge of the property. We got the 2 grasses right here. We got the taller blackbeard lilies right over here, right by the little birdhouse there. And then we have some more of the lilies planted right over here. Now, the other thing that I wanted to show you is some of the branches had broken off some of this Caryopteris, which is commonly known as bluebeard, just in case some of you didn't know that. So you can see some of these branches had it wasn't on this one, I have to find which one. Oh, it's right here, had broken off. And I just wanted to show you that sometimes these clippings can actually be propagated, and you can make your own free plants that way. And it's really kind of simple to do once you get the hang of it. This can be done on the bluebeard, this can be done on the Weigela, this can be done on hydrangeas. It can actually be done on boxwoods too. So there is a wide variety of shrubs that you can actually do this on. So let me quickly show you how to do that. All right, so here we are behind my shed again. Like I said, this is kind of my working area. And we have 4 clippings of the Caryopteris, or like I said, commonly known as bluebeard, and 1 big cutting of the quickfire hydrangea. So there are 2 key things that are going to make this successful. One is making sure that you get a nice stem that is not woody. So what does that mean? So basically, the older the stem, the woodier it gets. So once it starts turning like a brown color, this is the hydrangea. So once it starts turning like that brown color, that means it's a woody stem. The chances of that rooting are a lot less than something that's newer growth and is completely still green. So you want to make sure you have a newer, fresher stem. That'll increase the chances of it rooting. And the second thing is making sure that the soil that you put it in stays nice and moist. And I think that that's the place where me particularly, I struggled with it the most, because I oftentimes let it dry out, and then once it dries out, that new baby root that it formed is basically a goner, and then it's not going to reroot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to take off the bottom leaves. Now this I can split into even more, because you see these little tiny branches that are coming out. If I really wanted to, I can cut these off, and maybe I will. I can snip these off, and these will also root. And then I'm going to snip off a little bit more of this bottom, and I'm going to take off these bottom leaves, because you want this plant to send most of its energy into putting out roots, and not so much in terms of sustaining the flowers and the leaves at the top. So then all I'm going to do is, I have my nice fluffy compost rich soil. You can use potting soil, nothing fancy. And all I'm going to do is take this, it's nice and moistened, evenly moistened, and I'm just going to stick it into the soil. That's it. So I'm going to go around and continue to do that. So you want to make sure that, so everywhere you see a leaf come out, that's called a leaf node. You want to make sure that those are underground, because that's where the roots are going to come out of. When you're sticking it in the ground, sometimes the stem is so fresh that it bends, so you want to make a little hole so that you don't injure the stem, and then tuck it in nice and tight. So that is your bluebeard, and then we have the hydrangea. This is too long, and the end is probably getting a little bit too woody for me to stick in the ground. It won't root. It'll just end up rotting or drying out and dying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a top cutting, so right under that leaf, right there, and then you can always try to root the second, because nothing happens other than it just doesn't root. So I took off the bottom 2 leaves. I'm going to leave the top 2 leaves, and I am going to stick it in the ground up to here. Okay. Same thing with your top cutting. Top cuttings typically have a higher percentage of being able to root. So I am going to take this off, just leave the top and stick it in, and that's it. Now you have to remember to keep this watered. The best way that I have found is I basically find a container, which is just like a Tupperware container, and I keep water in at the bottom, and then this way it stays nice and evenly moist. So I don't have to keep remembering to come out here with the hose and make sure that it's watered every day, because like I said, once you miss that watering, then it's not going to root. Let me show you some of the other things that I have rooted. So I have found it significantly easier to root things in my raised beds, because the bigger the area, the more moist it tends to stay. So I have rooted a couple of little boxwood clippings in this one. I am in the process of rooting a hydrangea over here. I have some buddleia that I stuck in here to see if it'll take root, and sometimes it doesn't work, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it not rooting. Like I said, another little baby boxwood that I started over here. I have an oleander. I have a hydrangea that has taken root over here, and another one. Now the problem is you get so excited and so addicted to rooting things is that you think that you're going to remember what you rooted, and you don't. So it's a hydrangea. I just don't remember what kind. I believe it was the Invincible that I have in one of the garden beds, but can't be perfectly positive about that. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I have rooted, and it takes about a year or 2 for them to get a pretty decent size, so it's really not that bad. I actually have 6 hydrangea, limelight hydrangea that I propagated, and I will be sticking in the front yard. So it's a great way to make more plants and to help you on the cost, because this can get really expensive really quick. All right guys, that'll be it for today's video. Hopefully you guys found some helpful tips and enjoyed following along. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.